Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Digital asset investor, and I thought I might talk about the elephant in the room before I get going on what I wanted to show you, and that is I'm looking at coin market cap, and we got up as high as about 213 billion in the market today, and so there's been a few $1 billion of newer money coming into the system. That's what I have not seen over the last few months. Even when XRP has gone up, I have not seen a lot of that. But XRP had gotten up as high as over 7%. Now, I'm not expecting any miracles on November the 5th like some people are, but it could happen. I'm as I've told you before, I'm more of a big picture guy. I know what's coming in the short to mid run and then even the long run, but on a day-to-day basis, there's no telling what can happen. I've seen XRP go up over 30 or 40% in a day before it happens, and it could happen today, who knows. But I do know what's coming, and I consistently try to show you what's coming over the short to mid to long term. It's a no-brainer to me. Anyway, moving along. I found this interesting. I thought this was worthy of showing you just because it was kind of neat, and this guy took the time to put it on, or he put this on here. I think I've talked about him before. He's at Jody_Boschio, or I don't know exactly if I'm saying that right. But he's an XRP community member that I see posting pretty good stuff every once in a while. He posted this today. I wanted to show this to you. It's pretty cool. Shows this is a tweet he retweeted. Top 11 famous people's Bitcoin prediction. And when I see Bitcoin predictions, I see that also as an XRP prediction, not in terms of the price, but if Bitcoin goes up proportionately, if it goes this kind of crazy, then I would see XRP following in its proportional amounts, based on supply and that kind of thing. Winklevoss, I think they had, it's a little bit blurry, but I think that says 320K by 2018 was Tyler Winklevoss' prediction. John McAfee, 1 million by, I think that says 2020. This guy says 200 to 300K by 2022. Thomas Lee, 125K by 2021 to 2023. Jim Cramer, $1 million somewhere in the future. Max Kaiser, 100K long term. And then that's Jameson Lopp, I believe, 250K by 2020. Tim Draper, 250K by 2020. 250K by 2020. Trace Mayer. And then these guys think it's going to go down. I think that says $100 by 2028. And these are like economists. These would be your establishment guys that are, who knows, probably on the payroll by the powers that be. But I just thought that was interesting and worthy of showing you. Moving along, I'm going to feature Jill. Jill, our Ambassador XRP, in two different things because she put two good things on here. At JR Ambassador XRP. You need to follow her. She's a very active XRP community member. She put a link to this article today. JP Morgan Internal Cryptocurrency Prediction Report. And it says, I'll go over a little bit of what it says here. It says that the first thing was Bitcoin. This is what an internal report from JP Morgan apparently. Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, Ripple, Cardano, Dash, Litecoin, etc. are here to stay. And then they say that their predictions were that cryptocurrencies, and I'm just kind of summing this up, cryptocurrencies would in the short run would continue to see volatility. And of course, you're going to see volatility until more and more money gets into the system. Yes, it's going to be more volatile. That's just the way things work. And then they also said, last thing I wanted to mention, they said they would not disappear anywhere. They would continue to thrive, and investors would invest in it for decentralization. And I believe that, like, even if some governments want to issue their own currencies, I believe that that's a mistake. I believe that the fact that I believe this all comes down to trust and faith, and I believe that for that reason, the most appealing digital assets will always be those that were not issued by governments. Now, you may be forced to own a certain amount of government-issued cryptocurrency in order to get out of the system as you go in and out to buy things or whatever. But I believe people will always prefer holding digital assets that are not issued by the government. That's my opinion. So anyway, I was going to also feature another tweet by Jill R. And she just happened to put two out today that caught my attention. And now, this hasn't happened in a while, but my computer's trying to slow up on me a little bit. Hold on one second. All right. Now, this is an article I found interesting by Jill R. as well. Ripple fundamental analysis evidence that XRP token will move to $20 USD. When I read these articles, I immediately assume that it's by people that don't know what they're talking about, and I always look at them and look at who wrote them. So before I go over any of this, this is from a website called investinghaven.com. And so I went and I wanted to look at this guy, the guy that wrote this, Taki Cyclonus. I have no idea if that's the way you say that. So I went and I looked at who he is, and then I went to verify his credentials. It says that he's got 15 plus years experience in global markets, and his work continues to appear on major financial outlets like Marketwatch, Financial Sense, and Yahoo Finance. And so I went and looked, just did a search. This is an article, how silver from Marketwatch, which is a legit site, how silver could bounce back after a bearish 2017. And sure enough, here's his name. It says lead analyst at an investing haven told Marketwatch back in late April that silver prices likely peak. So anyway, my point is I wanted to show you that this is a guy that the traditional financial world considers to be a legitimate analyst. And for that reason, I'm willing to read his prediction, and his analysis is, to me, as valid as anybody else's that you would read if you were on Yahoo Finance or if you're reading Bloomberg and one of their analysts. This guy obviously has credibility in the markets. And so I wanted to just basically give you what he says is he thinks that XRP will move to $20 in 2019. And he goes through the Ripple fundamental analysis based on lean startup principles. And he mentions that 90% of startups fail. And then he goes on to talk about how far along Ripple, the company, is versus all of these other crypto startups. And he mentions this, and I wanted to read this last line to you. He mentions, and he said to focus on what he's got underlined here. The reality is that it's still faster to get on a plane and fly money to the destination yourself than it is to send money to another country using today's international financial infrastructure. He says, pay special attention to the underlying sentence. This is a problem that everyone recognizes, and at a minimum 50 to 70% of businesses across the world. The scope, breadth, and depth of this problem is huge. So as Ripple works hard to solve this problem, the outlook for Ripple as a company, currently still a startup, is amazing. And then he goes on to mention Ripple fundamental analysis, signs of traction. He's talking about all of the how Ripple's got products. He even puts a slide up from showing how Ripple's XVIA and some of the different, the XRapid and all the XCurrent work together, and the products. They've got legitimate products. He mentions here they're now active in over 40 countries across 6 continents. RippleNet allows those on RippleNet to provide a faster, cheaper, and more transparent payments experience for their customers around the world. So he's basically talking about how what I've told you many times before, Ripple's way out in front and actually has legitimate, real products that are out in the world already. And then he goes on. Talks about Ripple fundamental analysis, institutional investors, and he says that the numbers. This is what Chief Strategy Officer of Ripple had come out, and we talked about this last week, I believe, that numbers were really up 400% quarter over quarter, and that was institutions buying XRP. And then he goes on and he talks about all of the things I always talk about, which is all these huge companies that are coming into the business. And then he said something kind of interesting. He was talking about how all these institutions are coming in. Then he says, in other words, the phenomenal spike at the end of September was largely, or at least partially, driven by Wall Street money inflow. Now imagine what this means once the crypto market conditions become bullish. A majority of Wall Street participates. 3, Ripple can confirm its early signals of traction into new clients. The upside potential for Ripple is massive, according to us. Indeed, it is coming, but it is not there yet. We strongly believe a handful of companies will benefit from the massive inflow of institutional money. Ripple will be the biggest beneficiary, as explained in our article on Medium, Why Bitcoin Futures Will Fuel Ripple XRP's Price. And so I just thought this was so worthy of showing you all today, because there's a lot of what I call jacklegs that give price predictions out there. But this is a person who is thought well enough of in the analyst community to be quoted on Yahoo Finance and Marketwatch and places like that. And so when I find people like this who I can tie in any way to traditional finance, it's a lot more difficult for the naysayers to argue with that, is kind of my point. I'm a digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe and hit the like button and tell your friends and family that this particular analyst says that XRP could go to $20 in 2019. Thanks for listening.